Hello, just Gem here and welcome, or indeed welcome back to my channel. Before I go any further, I'm actually going to unplug my mic because my mic has been giving me an absolute nightmare. I can't remember what things used to sound like before I used a mic, but we're about to find out. The sound does come back, thankfully, because I did have a mild panic about that. Keeping this in because it shows the palette quite true to colour. And now I'm going to cut to some swatches for you. Enjoy. First off, can I just say that these might be the most aesthetically pleasing swatches that I've done. They're not 100% perfect, but there's just something about how these swatches look that I really like for some reason. I digress. I've got all the shimmers on the top there, and then all the mattes on the bottom. I just wanted to show you the palette as well so I can explain how I've done the swatches. You can see it alternates top row shimmers, then mattes, then shimmers, then mattes, and the depth increases as you go from this side to that side, and then also as you go down the palette. So I've swatched in a bit of a zigzag, so this, then this, this, then this, this, then this, side by side, as I thought that made the most sense, at least in my brain anyway. I'm filming in natural daylight, and I've also just got my ring light on to boost it. I will say, when I picked this up, I went in there knowing full well that I would probably think some of the mattes, possibly a lot of the mattes, were on the light side. Having said that though, now I've swatched it, it's really only these first two that I think are super light, and I don't mind that so much. And I think the thing that swayed me was the 50-50 balance of the shimmers. What beautiful shimmers they are. I'm definitely looking forward to putting those on my eyelids. If you've watched any/many reviews up until this point already, you'll know that there's a baked shimmer in this palette, and that is the shade Smolder, and it's this blackened silver. It's a black base with silver sparkles running through it, and it does feel different to the touch, but it's probably not what you would anticipate from a baked shade. But it has a different kind of texture. I'd say it's marginally drier than the rest. I think that's probably the most distinguishing feature of that shade. I'd say they swatched really well. No issues at all with the swatching. I think maybe this is 2 passes for each, for both the shimmers and for the mattes. The formula, how would I describe the formula? It's not dry, it's not creamy, it's bang slap in the middle. There's not a lot of kick up in the pan that I've only used my finger so far. I don't know how it's going to be when you swirl a brush in the pan, but I don't see much excess powder or pickup in the pans just from the finger swatches. Enough jabbering on, let's get some shades on my eyes. What seems like a lifetime ago, I posted a picture on my stories that Glaminatrix Cosmetics had posted of 8 looks created using the Nearly Natural palette. I also put on a prompt to ask you which of the looks you would like to see me create. I don't have to use my imagination today because you guys have picked some looks for me, and by quite some margin. Well, one look was far out in front, and then another look came, well, it had 3 votes. The one that won by a landslide was look number 8, so we'll start with look number 8. Rather than having to use my brain power to think up a look, I now have to use it to figure out exactly which shades we used to do those looks. I have an idea, I've written them down, we'll see how close I can get. Also have to bear in mind that the model in the pictures, who may well be the owner, whose name has just escaped me, but she's a very different complexion. I seem to be doing this a lot, basing looks that people who have got a very different complexion to me have done. So either way it's going to look different on me, but those two looks, 8 and 5, are going to be my inspiration. I feel like I should probably put tape down, but I just got up to get my tablet and I didn't get tape, so we're not going to do that because I'm too lazy to get up again. Where shall we start? So we're doing look number 8 first. Will I put it up on the screen? I'll try to kind of stay here, because I notice these things when I'm editing other videos. I'll try as much as I can to stay here so I can put little images in the corners here. Right, now I believe this robe has been used in the very outer corner here. So that's, oh, actually before I do that, it's got a, so that's the front of the palette there, and it's got like a plastic sheath that I haven't taken off yet, so let's do that. Satisfying. I do like that packaging, it's nice. I like the embossing, it feels nice to the touch. I don't know if you can, how well you can see that, because I've zoomed you so close. This robe for some depth in the outer corner. And what I might do for the time being is just place it down to give a bit of shape. And then I'll come back to that later. And then I think a fluffy-ish brush, maybe this Zoeva 231, which is looking a bit stained. I need to wash my brushes, guys, it's really bad. It's finding the time to just sit there and wash them all. I am doing sort of sprays in between, but they do need a clean. Zoeva 231, and I think the tones in the crease here are going to be Essence and Down to Earth. So I'll start with Essence near the front and let's see how that looks. Yeah, see, like that's not as bright on me. I don't even know if you can see that showing yet. And I've got my Be Perfect priming canvas on. It's definitely not giving that same intensity. I mean, I can see it, but obviously it looks very different on me. I might try packing on a bit. Yeah, packing is better than blending. Now let's get Down to Earth involved, which is the shade right next to it. And we're also packing here. I don't know how different those look on me. Just looking at these swatches, they look different in the swatch. Essence is more mustardy and Down to Earth has more green to it. It might be more Essence that's used, so we'll use a bit more of Essence. And I wonder if the outside is a mixture of Naturally and Disrobe, which are right next to each other. So maybe I'll add a bit of Disrobe. Yeah, I think there's a hint of Disrobe there. I think it's going to be all about the shimmers here. I'm not sure I've nailed that outer. This is probably why I should have put down tape first, but let's get some shimmers involved. Now I think the shimmers here are going to be Exposed and possibly New Nude. Do I feel like I need a NYX? Let's put down some NYX glitter primer. Exposed. Should we start with that first? That's Exposed. Very smooth. Very smooth. Let's put a bit of New Nude. Also very smooth here. I mean, I'm not sure I'm even remotely close, not even remotely, to how this looks. I'd say it's inspired by, perhaps. How do I get it looking a little bit more like that picture? This is a Refer 13 and I'm just dipping in between Essence and Naturally. I should have used tape. I think if I'd have used tape it would have made that more defined, but hopefully I can do that with concealer. I don't know if that just looks a bit muddy now. I'm not sure that looks anything like the picture, guys, but I tried. I tried. That corner is very messy, I don't like that. I like the shimmers though. So we'll leave it at that for that eye. I don't think that's remotely close, not even a little bit, but it's a very unique style. Well, maybe not unique, it's probably not the right word. It is possibly to do with eye shape as well. Because my lid, I feel like it's more curved, it comes right back down. Whereas this lid opens up more this way, so it's easier to get a more elongated shape. That's how I think anyway. But let's try the next eye. So it was 5, and that's the more reddy toned. It's a bit more halo-y. Let's get a fluffier. Let's look at the Zoeva 227, and we'll start with Untouched. Untouched is quite a nice light mauvey shade actually. It kind of reminds me of a shade Pat McGrath might include in one of her palettes. I might come back to that, but I think that's actually enough for now. Refer 14 into Naturally to get the corners. I think I mentioned when I did the swatches that there wasn't much sort of pickup when I did the finger swatches. You definitely do get more with a brush. I also really like this shade, Naturally and Untouched pair really nicely together, which I hope you can see here. Just need to get my blend on. I think I said Raw and Nearly Natural looked like the shimmers to use. Let's do Raw first. Oh, I didn't put any NYX down. Oops, I got too overexcited about putting the shimmers down. I didn't put any NYX down. But I think that's doing quite well without any NYX, to be honest. Nearly Natural, right in the middle, I think. Oh, I don't know if that's bright enough, you know. I wonder if that should have been unveiled. I might go over it with stripped back. I don't know that it's the same, but I quite like it. My battery died just as I was making that a bit more spotlighty. I don't know if I've overdone it there. Quite possibly. I'm not convinced. Right, let me conceal. Sometimes concealer saves the day and it just makes everything okay. So let me sort of conceal, do most of the rest of my face. I know that for look 8, the liner that's used is like a plummy colour, similar, but it's the same one as 5, so I might cheat a little bit and use a plummy colour for this eye, but maybe like a mustard or gold for this eye. Or maybe I will use the same liner for both sides. I'll see. You'll know what I've done when I come back with a mostly complete face. So on this eye, it looks to me to be a mixture of Naturally, possibly with some essence, and then we've definitely got a bit of exposed under there as well. Let's put down Naturally to start with. With a Refa 13, I'm going to go into Exposed to just say to smooth it out. That seems to have almost wiped it out. Oh, it's alright. Maybe a bit more naturally. And then I'm going to pick up my Refa number 3 and go into Exposed. I don't want too much exposed on the bottom. I think that's alright. Yeah, like that. On this eye it's going to be, it's Naturally again. This is a made by Mitchell ME11. I'm going into Untouched. Okay. Right, I'm going to do my liner and mascara off camera because I suck at doing them on camera. Then I'll zoom you right in so you can get up close and personal with each look. And then I'll zoom you out again and give you my first impressions. I've zoomed you right in so that you can see both eyes up close now that they are finished. I mean, I'm not going to say copies of because they're not copies of. I'll say heavily influenced by look number 8 and heavily influenced by look number 5. Do you have a favourite? I think on this eye especially, my discoloration is coming through, so that's something for me to note. I'll have to figure out if I want to use those shades the best way to prime my eyelids to make it even. So bear that in mind when you look at this eye. That's more human error than the performance of the shadows. You can't see it perhaps as much in this one just because the pigment is richer, so it covers up more pigmentation. Very goldy side, very mauvey side. I mean, clearly I prefer the mauvey side. It's a hint of purple there, well, quite a fair bit of purple, so that's got to be my favourite side. But let me know if you have a preference. There we have it. So this is my finished face, and how I finished off today. Concealer I've used is this Fenty Beauty one in the shade 445N. Really like that concealer. Trigwell Cosmetics setting powder in the shade 2, which you'd think is too light for me, but it's not. You just have to be careful with it, so I tend to use it in the centre of my face to brighten. And then for the rest of my face, did I not bring it through? I don't think so, but I use the Fenty powder concealer. I think that's in the shade 450. I don't know if that's the right shade for me. It'll do. So my waterline in both eyes, I did decide to use the same shade, and this is Joyride from Colourpop, the cream gel liners. I bought basically almost every shade they have during a Black Friday sale when they were $2 each. Absolute bargain. Eye combo, Clinique Easy liner, and I'm trying to use up this Marc Jacobs one so that I use it up and then I can throw it away. I'm not sure what will be my next mascara after that one, but I've got a stash to work through, so we'll find out. I've lined my lips with Auburn from NYX, that's that there, and then the actual lippy is Full Blooded from Pat McGrath. Then on my cheeks I've got the NYX Buttermelt Blush in Butter Than Before, and very lightly I have applied Butter Bling, so the corresponding highlighter. So if you're interested in seeing them side by side, see, I hadn't realised, but the blush is considerably, well, maybe significantly larger than the highlighter. So product wise, does it say the weight? If it does, I can't. Oh, it says it on the front, that's why. Oh, it's same weight, they've just put them in different packaging. Yeah. Glaminatrix Nearly Natural. I do like this. The one of the reasons I picked this up is because I don't have many proper neutral palettes, and the neutral palettes I do have are the £10 Beauty Bay ones. So I've got Rich and I've got Natural. I don't have, I think it's Nude, and I think I could probably get this look out of Rich. Possibly, no, it doesn't have the yellowy tones, but I could get something similar. But what I like about this is it almost combines Rich and Natural with a few other tones in a more compact palette. So I'm not going to take Rich and Natural out and about with me because they're £42 palettes. They're more when I'm at home, for example, or I'm filming a YouTube video, or I'm going to film a look at home and then go out. They're not really palettes that I travel with. This, on the other hand, is a size I would travel with. And you've also got the added bonus, obviously, that the pans in here are magnetic, so if you wanted to condense it down even more than this and just pick out your favourite shades, you can do that. Another selling point for me was the 50-50 split between mattes and shimmers. I know some people prefer to have a greater proportion of mattes in their palette, and I can see the argument for that, but I love shimmers. I do. I really love shimmers. And this, I think, works having 50-50. I think you can create a lot of different combinations using this. Would I prefer a more shimmer heavy palette in general? I don't know I'd go that far, but I'm not averse to a high shimmer ratio. I do like that. If you prefer more mattes, this might not be the one for you. These shimmers are, I might see if I can put some footage on in like different lighting, because sometimes I think when I film these swatches, the lighting just doesn't do the sparkle justice. Even when I was swatching them, initially I thought, I don't know about these, but then I moved into a different room with different lighting and it was like kapow, like it was sparkle central, and I was like, okay, no, I take it back. I take it back. I haven't used, obviously there was a bit of overlap with some of the shades in here. We've mainly just Naturally, to be fair, so I haven't necessarily explored all the shades that particularly caught my eye, so I really want to use Smolder. Really curious about that. And what else? And I guess I'm intrigued. I'm always back. I still have the swatches on my arm, and I know I'm always banging on about depth. And yes, I probably would prefer it if it did have more depth, but I'm still not necessarily mad at the choice of mattes in this palette. So this I'd probably use as an inner corner pop every now and again, and that potentially, I don't know if I, let me see what I would use that for. That may well be too light, but the rest of them going up, they can go in my crease, and I know that they would work. So the only ones are probably these two, and I think that was my main concern. I wondered with this row how light those mattes would go and how much use I would get out of them. But now I've swatched them, I know that I can. Yeah, so Barely There, I think would be quite nice to pair with maybe something like Disrobe if you wanted to soften it a little bit. So that's Barely There, and then Disrobe. That's the one thing I did not worry, but I did think of that in the back of my mind. Are you okay with those light shades in there, considering how much you keep banging on about depth? But I do appreciate like these tones in here. If anything, to be honest, I'm more meh about these shades, and you can probably see why from here. It might just be I need to experiment with a primer for these shades, but if anything, I might end up using these more because I can get away with using them in my inner corner than I will these tones. So we'll see. I mean, they're not horrendous. Now you can't see me properly. They're not necessarily my favourite tones to use. And yeah, I guess it's just surprised me that I found that I think I like these ones more than I do these ones. It's interesting. I don't know how long I'll keep this on for. It's already quite late in the day. I mean, it's 5 PM. I'll probably just keep it on now until the day is over. I'm trying to predict the crease level. I don't think they would do too badly. I mean, it's very early because I've literally only just put these on, but sometimes you can get a feel for a shade. It's like literally a feel for the shade. You can kind of tell how prone it is to creasing. These all feel drier, so, and they're not particularly emollient, so I don't feel overly concerned about there being creasing. As always, I'll do some longevity tests and I'll come back and I'll let you know about that. But just from the feel of them when I swatched them and how they felt when I kind of spread them across my lid, I have high hopes for longevity, but we'll see. I don't know if, I'd probably not. I don't know if they've changed the formula at all between this and Rich Romantic, which is the first palette that I tried from Glaminatrix, which made me, well, it put them on my radar. I'd been wanting to try them for a while, but I just hadn't got around to it, and I don't think I'd realised how reasonable shipping from Australia actually is. In a lot of, it's actually cheaper, I think, from Australia than America, which is mad to me considering the varying distance. But part of me wants to say I almost prefer the formula in here, but I don't know if that's justified because maybe they might be the exact same formula, but there's something about the way these feel that I think I prefer more. But maybe I'm imagining it. I'll have to get them both out and maybe have a little bit of a swatch party to determine if I'm just making that up. One thing I did want to check, which is if the shade names were on the back. Now these pans are quite small. I don't think I did that with Rich Romantic. I would imagine not, but let me go and grab my magnetic tool quickly and see. Yeah, I didn't think so. No names on the back, so just something to, you might want to label them up yourself, just so you know. But I suspected they wouldn't be, because that's a lot, and not everyone does that. But it's nice to have. It's nice to have. I think that's it. Those are my first impressions of Nearly Natural from Glaminatrix Cosmetics. While I don't think they look anything like the original looks, I still think they're quite pretty. They're, maybe my skill level isn't up to par to getting that exact style down, and to be honest I think it's also partly to do with eye shape, and looking at the way that the shimmers are applied, I wonder if that was with like a wet brush rather than a finger, because this is quite intense and I don't feel like they're quite as intense, at least not in the same way in those images. Lots of contending factors there: eye shape, application, general technique. But I still like these looks though. I still like them, and maybe I will try other looks inspired by those 8 looks, just to give me a starting point, because sometimes it can be quite daunting when you open up a palette and you want to do a look and you're not sure which way to go sometimes, so it's nice to have a bit of inspiration. I'm going to leave it there. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch. I hope that you found this video useful, I hope you found this video enjoyable, and I also hope to see you again in a video in the not too distant future. Take care. Bye! It's 10 PM and while it's not the longest longevity test in the world, I thought I might as well show you how both eyes are looking after approximately 5 hours. As I suspected, and I would know by now and I'd be able to see the telltale signs, but there's no creasing. I'll just close my eyes completely so that you can see. If you can see any creasing, it's those natural lines in my lids, but there's no gapping, there's no oils that have peeked through and have started to break up the shadow on my lids, and I did have a strong suspicion just from application and the way the shadows felt that they would hold up quite well. I don't know if that's, maybe you can see like some tiny creasing on this eye. This is my creasy eye, my lid with a double fold. I don't envisage that this would get any worse than that. Yeah, hardly anything noticeable at all. I'm trying to get right up in there. You gonna focus, camera? There we go. Maybe minimal creasing. Minimal. Yeah. I'll do more longevity tests and I'll wear it longer. Normally, if I'm out for a day, I'll have my shadow on for about 12 hours. But I was just filming another video and I thought I might as well do a check-in and show you how this is looking 5 hours later. There we go. Okay, bye again.